But to get back to who I want to thank Mark. I want to thank Steve Camarota, whom we've interviewed so many times, who's such an expert on all the numbers, who really helps us in that way. I want to thank Roy Beck and his wonderful Numbers USA, and Ann Manetis, who's here. We work with them on many projects, and that they run and it's shown by the growth of their website and email list. They run a very necessary organization with now more than 2 million, I believe, members. Shows you just how much of an issue that's half the size of the NRA, of course, not as well known as the NRA. But about myself, I want to tell you a little bit about how I came to immigration as an important issue to be covered in all its aspects, good and bad. I am the very proud daughter of a Russian-Cuban immigrant. My grandfather and his 2 brothers left Russia, Poland, what's now Lithuania, but went back and forth between Russia and Poland during all the wars they had, and could not get into the United States, could not get their visas, so they went to Cuba, waited 10 years till their numbers came up. In the process, became Cuban citizens, and then went back and forth between the U.S. and Cuba after that. And my grandfather started 2 small businesses in Havana, or outside Havana, and one in Brooklyn, and went back and forth until the end of his life, which was right after Castro took over. Anyway, immigrants are fabulous. Immigrants make the best Americans. They work the hardest for the least amount of money. They contribute so much to this country. But in the journalistic community, if you dare raise any negative impact of mass immigration that we have now, both legal and illegal, you are shunted aside as some kind of strange person who has a very strange approach to reporting. And it's very sad because I came up in the 70s as a teenager, went to one of the first Earth Day events in New York City in 1970, and population, not immigration at that point, I might add, because it predated the latest great wave of immigration, but population in the United States was an issue that was front and center. It is never mentioned anymore. If you mention, you can't use the term overpopulation. That gets you shouted out by both conservatives and liberals. Liberals don't want to hear it because they support open border immigration, pretty much. And conservatives don't like it because they want cheap labor. And so I am nonpartisan, not because of that issue, because of a whole host of issues, but I like to say I dislike each party equally for different reasons. But I truly am not, I certainly came of age as a progressive, but I am no longer a progressive because I don't believe the progressives really support the environment. And to me, that's the most important issue. If we don't deal with climate change and human impact on the planet, there's not going to be a planet in 50 years, is my personal belief. And you say that in journalistic or political circles, and people look at you cross-eyed. And we get objections from viewers sometimes. We also get great emails saying, thank you for doing this. I hear this nowhere else on TV. But we also get people who say, call me bad names and say that begins with R, and call us out for just reporting what are the facts. And I think it's a really sad time because I'm not sorry. I spend a fair amount of time in the company of climate change scientists. I am convinced that if perhaps it may not be too late, it probably is, but perhaps if we were to turn around everything right now and use and restrict the bad things that we're doing to the environment, carbon emissions, etc., and use new science to try to turn around global warming, maybe it's not too late. I kind of think it is. But since we are nowhere near where we need to be to deal with this issue, we really should be dealing with issues that contribute to it that we can deal with. And one of those is population growth in all its forms. But we're not dealing with the fact that we are the major contributors to greenhouse gases. And what we do, and this is our cultural disadvantage, but when we do take immigrants from developing nations who have very small carbon footprints, we turn them into the rest of us who have huge carbon footprints and turn them into greater contributors to global warming. And we need to do something somewhere. We're not doing anything on any of the fronts. Immigration is just one of the fronts where we need to start controlling things. But again, is anybody going to listen? Does anybody care? No. Al Gore, much to his credit, tried in his presidential bid, in his, I might say, successful presidential bid that he never claimed the gain from, to bring overcrowding, traffic, smog, overcrowding of schools, all those issues that are a result of overpopulation that affect people where they live and people can relate to. He tried to raise that as an issue in his campaign, and it did not work, so he dropped it. But Americans just don't want to hear it for whatever reason. In any event, for that reason and many others, I thank you so much, Mark, for giving this award, for encouraging those of us who are out in the trenches to keep doing it, because we need all the support we can get.
To us.
And I did want to say I want to donate the
I took care of it. Yes.
to Progressives for Immigration Reform. I think that's a very, very important group, and that's what I'm doing.
Thank you.